Welcome back, everybody, to the Too Easy Project. This is episode 8. I am joined today with my buddy Carter Michaelson. This guy's a football player, baseball player at the University of Northwestern in St. Paul, Minnesota. Carter, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, so I am a senior this year, a marketing major at University of Northwestern, and then I've played baseball since coming into school. That's kind of the main thing that brought me to Northwestern. Actually, was baseball, and then I also played football starting my sophomore year. Didn't play freshman year, and once again, joining football was kind of one of the best decisions I could have made for myself as well. And so thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah. So you said baseball was like your main focus, though. Then football was like you joined in addition. Did you just really like the whole atmosphere of college sports and keeping yourself competitive like that, or what was your reasoning for then joining football?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, to be honest, I was kind of a smaller guy. Like growing up, I was kind of always scrawny, and even graduating high school, I think I weighed like 170 pounds, and I mean, I'm 6'3",
Really?
so
Yeah,
so
I looked up your football stats, and football stats are always, they're elevated a little bit more. They're fluffed up. You're what, 6'3", you said, and it says you weigh 210. Is that true, or do you weigh?
yeah, I'm about 210 right
Yeah.
now,
So
but
you went from 170 to 210.
yeah, in just a couple of years.
Yeah.
So, the big thing for me was I was always in love with baseball. So I ended up coming to Northwestern, stayed for an overnight and met with some of the guys on the team and just really felt at home and like I was going to be a part of something where they were going to build into me as a baseball player, as a Christian, as an athlete, all of them together. And then really I just started hanging out with some of the football guys, and actually our head football coach, Coach Moore, would come up to me all the time when I was in the weight room, just kind of, like you said, doing personal lifting stuff and all that. And he would come up to me and be like, "What are you doing in the weight room getting big like this for baseball? You don't need to do that. Like,
I
come
know.
play football for us." He'd just joke around all the time. And I was like, I kind of brush it off, be like, oh, like whatever. Because in high school, I didn't actually start playing football until my junior year. My parents wouldn't let me play because of like concussions and all that sort of stuff. So I was kind of behind in the game when it kind of came to football IQ and even like some technique stuff when it came to tackling and just footwork stuff. I was kind of behind in the game. But I'd also say like I consider myself a pretty good athlete, so I kind of picked something up pretty quickly. And so I played junior and senior year and really was kind of only on special teams and a little bit of second string. I'd play some defensive back and mainly a corner and safety. And then I came in and I remember I literally was just lifting one time and I kept thinking about how so many guys are telling me that I should play football and whatnot. And it was the summer at this point, like 2 weeks before football camp started. And I finally was just like, you know what, like, what the heck? Why not just go for it? Like, what do I have to lose? Oh, I could get hurt or something, but who cares? That's
But
temporary.
this is like your last chance to do something like this because, I mean, once you graduate, unless you find a rec league somewhere to play some softball or something, this is like the last chance you have for that competitive, arena setting like that you've had all the way from grade school. So
Right,
I feel that.
exactly. And another thing is like it's football too. So there's so many things where you can join like a softball team or even town ball baseball, a basketball rec league, something like that. But you can't get 22 guys together to put on strap up pads and go and hit each other out on a field. Like that's just not going to happen. So I had just decided in that moment, I was like, you know what, I'm going to play. So I shot Coach Moore a text and just said, hey, is it still all right if I come and join you for camp? And he just said, yes, absolutely. We'd love to have you. And from there, I mean, it was kind of weird at first, just getting used to, back in a football mindset and things and getting hit. And I actually came in as a wide receiver right away because I wanted to play receiver because I was on the defensive side of the ball in high school. And I was like, let's give this a shot. And I've got some speed to me, got some pretty good hands. So I was like, let's go for it. And so I went at receiver and I ended up getting switched. They switched me to defensive back to go back to safety like the second week, just because basically Coach Moore sat me down. He was like, you're a pretty good athlete. We want to see what you can do on this side of the ball. And from there on, I basically I sat behind Nick Swore and Ben Mackey, who are two guys that Nick Swore was an All-American at safety
Jeez.
the year before I came in. So he's a really good player. So I got to see and play right behind some really good players who really I learned a lot from. And then I was able to make the switch my junior year to go down to outside linebacker, which was just a blast. I got to blitz more, got to hit quarterbacks, deal with the big fatties on the line.
Yep.
So
Yep.
that was a lot of fun. I tried to use my speed to my advantage in that case, just because I'm not the biggest guy out there, but I could usually blow by them if I really wanted to. So for that, I think I packed on a decent amount of weight that summer. I was kind of trying to focus. I wanted to be 210 was the goal, 210, 215 was the goal. And I was right around there. I think I was like 208 when we first hit camp. So, but yeah, and then what's that?
The workouts you were doing to bulk up in that off season, like you said, you wanted to gain weight. Was that
Right.
football lifting program that they set up for you guys for the off season, or was that what you were doing? You came up with the program for yourself. You were just hitting the weight
Yeah.
room.
So for me, I love doing the team workouts when it's actually in season, and a lot of it, we hit like it's kind of all full body workouts the whole time, so it's not focusing on one muscle group or anything. So I've always found that in season I'm totally fine with doing that sort of thing because it keeps you in shape and doesn't really have you lose any muscle mass or anything like that.
Yeah.
But out of season, I never really went with the plans that we had. I mean, I would take a look at them and be like, okay, I'll definitely include some of these in there, but I definitely tweaked and kind of set up my own plan for myself. So I'm a guy where if I'm going into the gym, like say I'd lift like 5 or 6 days a week, maybe 1 or 2 rest days, maybe 1 day of cardio. And so I'd go in and I'd do like a chest and back day, and then I'd do like an arm and shoulder day, and then I'd do like just a leg day
Dude,
that day because I've,
that's exactly what I've been doing recently in the
yeah,
past, few months and year here. Yeah. That works for
right.
me.
And exactly. And I've found that, like I said, when you hit full body workouts, you're going to be able to kind of maintain the strength that you've put on. But
Yeah.
at the same time, like you're not going to see significant growth and you're not going to really like fuel that kind of burn like that bodybuilders always are seeking and stuff
Yeah.
where you can really like tell a muscle is like fatigued from how much you've been hitting it that day. So,
Yeah.
so
I
I
want to hit on
really,
your point quick though, what you said about full body workouts. If you do it multiple times a week, it's hard to keep up that strength. Because what I found is it's every day it feels like you're sore, so it feels like you're getting a really good workout, but you're not going to be able to push as much weight because your muscles are still recovering, in
right.
that lift. But what happened? Okay, so I went to Spain right at our spring break. Let's see, that was March 8th, I think, March 9th. So I went to Spain to visit my fiance, and I didn't lift for that whole week. And then I get back, and it's quarantine because of COVID-19. So I can't
Yeah.
lift again, and I'm lifting in like an attic or a garage with some weights you see behind
Right.
me.
Yeah.
Intermittently here and there, just not getting the full volume that I was before. And then I'm lifting with my fiance's little brother, and I was like, I want to see what my decline has been like. So I warmed up with bench, and for years since I've been lifting pretty consistently for years, my bench and squat and most lifts have kind of plateaued a little bit.
Mhm.
And my bench has been consistently around 285, 290. Okay, for a while. It doesn't go up much more than that. It doesn't go down below that much. And I was like, what the heck? So I go up to bench and I hit 285 after like 3 weeks of, like I said, first week was almost no lifting at all. Next 2 weeks were like, here and there. And I go up, I hit 285 and it's easy. So I'm like, let's try 300. I put up 300. It was honestly, it's the weirdest thing to me. I don't know what it is,
Nice.
that deload. If I had been lifting every single day, like you said, the full body workouts, there's no way I would have been able to hit that PR and bench.
Right.
But there was enough time between workouts that my muscles were just able to fully recover or something like that. I don't know. But I hit a 15-pound bench PR for the first time in like a couple of years.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Congrats. That's sweet.
it doesn't make any sense to me though. So I'm sitting here now thinking like maybe the key is to just not do anything.
Yeah, well, I think
Yeah.
I think like you said, it's one of those things where like once you've stayed consistent with it for so long, your body can have that tendency to just plateau in whatever lift it might be. It might be like, yeah, like your squat stays the same for, you've been trying to put up more weight for the last year, and it's like you can't put up even 5 more pounds than you were able to
Yeah.
do like a year ago that day. And I think sometimes when you've just been going at it for so long, your body actually just needs like a week or maybe even 2 weeks where not necessarily do you do nothing, but just you really tone it back and give it the rest that it deserves. Maybe during that week you focus on cardio or you're just focusing on doing abs or something like that. But I think that's definitely true that sometimes your body does just need a big break to just take a step back and relax. And then all of a sudden you hop back on and you're like, wow, do I feel
Yeah. Yeah.
strong?
The other thing though too that I noticed, or a reason for it, I think is that previously with school, it's just hard to really, especially with being a broke college student, you can't go and buy $500 of groceries every week. But now that I've been on quarantine, I've been staying in Wisconsin, back with my parents because they don't want me traveling to, back to Minneapolis where I have my own place and back and forth and, you know,
Yeah.
things like that. So I've been staying with them and I just get as much food as I want. And I don't have to worry about, not getting enough energy from my workouts. And that could be the other thing too. So
Yeah, absolutely. No ramen.
yeah, yeah. Or syrup tortillas, that's what I
Right.
do.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
but I want to talk to you again, keep on the topic of coronavirus stuff. So, I saw that the NCAA just made a decision on eligibility, on another year of eligibility for athletes whose seasons have gotten cut short because of the shutdowns and things like that. And the decree that they made was that spring sports athletes will be given another year of eligibility, but winter sports will not. So now that you know that as your senior year in baseball, that just got cut short, you have another chance to compete. But I know it's hard because a D3 athlete, you're kind of paying for that extra year, when you got to come back. So I want to know what your thoughts are on that. Would you consider coming back for one more, hurrah to be able to finish it out?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, yeah, absolutely. I definitely found out about that. And obviously, with everything, the way that this has gone down, it's unprecedented and we've never seen anything like this. So, really, it was just a shock to me when obviously I found out that the season was over. And I pretty much knew immediately that the NCAA was going to grant an extra year of eligibility because obviously, if you're not playing, it's basically just like if you had broken your leg, like you'd get a medical red shirt for that. So
Yeah.
it's a very similar scenario, minus the pain, obviously, of dealing with an injury. But for me, being in my senior year, like I'm set to graduate in May. It's one of those things where, yes, would I love to come back and play another year of baseball? Absolutely. But like you said, being a D3 athlete, it's like we're paying for that. I know I'm not going to go pro. And so for me, it really doesn't change anything. I know that this is going to be my last year. And so it sucks even more knowing that it was cut short. I definitely miss just the bonds and being with the team every day. We've got a great coaching staff. All the players on the team I consider brothers. So not being able to be out with them is the part that definitely hurts the most. But I definitely say for people that are D1 athletes, like these guys that are trying to get drafted and things like that into the MLB, it definitely makes a huge difference. And I'm glad the NCAA did rule on it the way they did because these players do deserve a second chance. And I mean, it sucks all around for everybody. I think about whether you were having the best year of your life, like all these guys, some of them were thinking, oh, like maybe after this year, I'll be on scouts radar to get drafted. And it's like, now they're not really going to get that chance. There's so many
Yeah.
ways that this is affecting people. So I'm glad that they did rule it that way, but yeah, for me, it's really not going to change much. The only way that this could possibly help me is I'm debating on getting my MBA. So I'm thinking about possibly taking a year off from school. I've got a full-time job that I'm starting in June. And after I've worked for like 9 to 12 months, they start to reimburse towards those master's programs for school. So
Nice.
basically it's a few $1,000s that you'd be missing out on if you do that beforehand. So there's a chance, I'd say like maybe a 10% chance that
Yeah,
I could possibly come back and play baseball again in like a year or two. The problem there is like, I don't know what life's going to be like. Am I going to have my
exactly.
own family? Am I going to,
Exactly.
like, there's so many things to consider. So I'd say it's a very slim chance, but I guess the chance is still there.
Yeah, and im not everything is all well and good now that they offered this another year of eligibility because like you said, you don't know what your life you have to continue with your plans that you had. I mean, if you got a full-time job coming up, you can't just put that on hold so that you can play one more year of D3 baseball, and that's
Right,
unfortunate
exactly.
because there are kids out there that are losing out on this last opportunity, even when they're guaranteed another year of eligibility for this spring sport. And I just think maybe if there's some other form of compensation to to help kids come back and compete again, but I don't know what that would be, but it's just too bad. Like you said, you were about to have, the last season that you were of your college career, and I'm sure you were preparing really hard for it and looking forward to all the games and everything like that. And I just and people who weren't in that situation probably can't relate to it or understand it, you know.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing is that people that don't, that's like that weren't college athletes, like there's a difference. And I get that obviously this is a huge issue like worldwide, and the biggest thing is safety and health. And I definitely understand. I'm keeping that all in perspective, but you also have to understand like this hurts deep down for a lot of college athletes. Like sports mean a lot to people. Being able to compete means a lot to people. And when that chance is taken away, whether it was something completely out of your control or not, it flat out hurts.
Yeah. But so then what now? I mean, you said you got something lined up as far as the job and career goes, but at least for me, that competitive outlet is something I need in my life, and that's part of the reason I stay involved in lifting and exercising, on a regular basis. And also doing things like flag football, just a way to stay in the game mindset. So what do you think is in store for you as far as sports goes? A lot of people turn to coaching, maybe doing some training. I don't know. Wait until you have a kid and then coach him all the way through or something.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely am just competitive at nature, and it's funny. Like that's the job that I have starting in June is actually a sales job, so it's one of those things where like it's perfect because I can take that competitive outlook and kind of you kind of determine your own wages and stuff like that in terms of if you're hitting bonuses and things like that. So it's nice that at least I can keep that kind of competition steady just going into my career. I think that's gonna be really nice to start out my career out there. But yeah, then like you said, in terms of athletics, for the first time, kind of being done with college sports and like high school sports. I mean, it's been 8 years basically since I will not be in anything that's just regulated sports.
Yeah.
And so I think for me, hopefully in the next month or two, things will kind of get back into control and we can get back in the normal swing of things. And I'd love to be able to play town baseball just as a summer ball kind of thing. There's a ton of amateur ball clubs out there where there's a coach for Northwestern who's putting something together with a bunch of college guys and just recently graduated guys just to put a team together. So that'd be something that I'd love to participate in, is playing on that team during the summer. And I mean, there's some different tournaments and some championships that you can play for and stuff. It gets pretty competitive out there. So thankfully I can still kind of keep that competitive edge
Yeah.
in playing the game. But then again, it's also one of those things where I don't think there's ever going to be another time where the competition is the same, where it's like everyone is so hyper focused on being successful and being the best you can be. It's kind of more for playing the love of the game, staying in shape and those sort of
Hmm.
things. So I think that's going to be the biggest bummer, is just kind of the drop off in just the intensity of it all.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to miss a lot.
Dude, I believe it. And again, people who are just seeing this from the outside, maybe people really love watching college sports and they're bummed out, but they just don't understand this the mental aspect that you guys are losing from this season getting cut short. Like, yeah, you don't get to compete, but there's a lot more to it than that as far as like you said, the competitiveness and things like that. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, dude, it's too bad, but hopefully this whole thing gets sorted out pretty soon as far as like the way to fix the problem. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
hopefully
Yeah.
people start getting better. Um, but so you talked to me before about your workouts for football because everyone knows football players just love to get big and bulky and strong and
Right.
things like that. But what about baseball? Because you see players like you don't realize how big some baseball players are. Like Mike Trout, he's big dude, big strong
Yeah,
guy.
he
I
is.
mean, even A-Rod is you see him in person, he's a big guy, you know. But then you get guys that kind of look more like dads. They look like they just show up for the
Yeah.
first day of practice and then play the game. They don't have to do a whole lot of running. Maybe the guy in right field doesn't even have to, make jog the whole game. So what are your workouts like off season, or what does the team require of you in the weight room for baseball?
Yeah, I would say, like you said, the biggest difference is that obviously for football, you're trying to get as massive, as fast, kind of fine tune your body to just be able to just lift tons and push, drive really hard, run through contact, things like that. But baseball is really different. I thought it was funny that you said, obviously, you've got some guys that are ripped on the field, and it's funny how baseball uniform can really hide how muscular some guys are,
Yeah, that's
and then
true.
other times you could see just how skinny somebody is or how fat they are. So it's really funny how you could see the spectrum of, you've got guys who are just a skinny stick, and then you've got these guys that are just fat tubs of lard out
Yep.
there, and then there's everything in between. But I would say probably the main focus for, if you talk to any MLB trainer or anything, is not you don't want to have a lot of bulk on you. You don't want to have kind of unnecessary added weight to your body. So they work a lot on flexibility and things like that. So kind of having really loose hips. Your shoulders are incredibly important. Shoulders and back, especially if you're a pitcher,
I
because
forget what
obviously,
position do you play
yeah, so
primarily?
I play outfield and then I also pitched.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I didn't actually get to pitch this year at all because I have horrible shoulders. I had surgery on my left labrum 2 years ago, and my right labrum is partially torn right now. So every time when I throw a ball kind of as hard as I can, it just kind of pinches a little bit in my shoulder. So I actually didn't pitch this year because I was kind of taking it easy on myself. Didn't want to have to miss any games with, a lot of
Sure.
shoulder pain or anything. But growing up, yeah, I pitched a lot as well. So outfield and pitching kind of go hand in hand. Oftentimes people do both. And I would say when it came to me for pitching, I was kind of an overpowering. I like to blow people away when I was younger, and then as I got older, people kind of started to catch up and kind of get on the same level playing field. So I could never throw more than 84, 85 miles per hour, and I mean that's decent velocity. But some of these guys, I mean, are throwing 100 miles per hour,
Dude,
and
okay,
that's
I was gonna ask. Now that you just mentioned, I cannot imagine. So I played. Okay, let me just break a little bit here. So back in Little League, let's see, summer before my seventh grade year or eighth grade year, I don't remember. My Little League team, we made like they took kids from all around the area and made an all-star team, and then that team
oh
competed
yeah.
to go to state and stuff. And so I was like, what, 12 years old or something, and I had never hit a home run in my life. And then suddenly this postseason all-star team starts, and we go to this tournament, and it's like 3 games Saturday or something, and I hit 2 home runs, one in a different game, one in each game, and I'm like, what's going on? And then I start hitting home runs like consistently. And then there's a home run derby at the state tournament. We end up making it to the state tournament in Little League, and there were like 2 people from each team that got submitted to the home run derby. And we had one dude who was obviously going to be in it. He hit homers all the time. And then the coaches are like, can he hit consistently? He just started, and they're like, all right, whatever. And I ended up going in and hitting 2 each round, just enough to make it to the final round. And the last dude who had 10, 10 more than me since, he didn't have any of that last round. So I squeaked by and won the home run derby. And
Wow, that's awesome.
but that's also with pitchers who are pitching. I don't remember how fast little leaguers can pitch. And then the home run derby, the coach is like lobbing it up, make it
Yeah.
easy. But then you get into college and these guys are throwing upwards of 90 miles an hour. I don't know how you can see a ball coming, especially when it's not going to be just a fastball. How do you anticipate the pitches and hit it in the, some people can even direct where the ball goes based on their swing and how they hit the ball on the, I don't get it. Does it just take years and years of practice and being in the sport, or are there like specific drills you guys get hammered into, just like doing hand-eye coordination and your reflexes and stuff?
Yeah, I would say you hit on both, actually. I would say it's definitely a mix of both. If you take someone that's never hit a baseball before and you lob a ball up to them, like odds are they can probably make contact and hit it. But all of a sudden you put that person at the plate and somebody's throwing 90 miles per hour up there, they're not going to see a thing. They're not going to even come close to touching it unless
Yeah.
they happen to get super lucky. So I think a lot of it is just playing the game and getting a lot of experience in it, and the game will beat you down. I mean, the best of the best players in the MLB, if you're hitting above 300, I mean, think about that. You're failing 7 out of 10 times. You're
Yeah.
failing
Yeah.
70% of the time, and you're still like an all-star out there. So baseball is such a unique game in that you fail so much that it can definitely beat you down, but it's important to kind of, you got to keep a level head and not get too down on yourself. And a lot of people definitely struggle with that aspect of the game, myself included. Is just failing is a necessary part of the game. And then, like you said, with drills and things like that, there's definitely things that you can train yourself to do in terms of hand-eye coordination, lots of key drills. And then a lot of it is just muscle memory, just getting into a batting cage and seeing velocity, working on all different parts of the zone. So some guys are good at hitting an outside pitch and taking it to right field. Some guys are really good at just pulling a ball that's inside. And obviously the best of the best are able to do anywhere in between over the plate, able to take that pitch where you want to go with it. But the other thing is, like you hear so often, keep your eye on the ball. Well, when the ball is coming in close to 90 miles per hour, you can't even see the ball. It's literally just a blur of light is what it is. And so I've seen a couple like sports science sort of videos talking about the MLB specifically, and they're basically saying that by the time the pitch is coming out of the pitcher's hand, the best of the best hitters already know where it's going to be in the zone.
You
And
have
that's
to, I
judging
guess.
all sorts of different pitches. Like you're picking up pitch grip. I mean, we're talking about fastballs, changeup, curveball, sliders,
Yeah.
knuckleballs, anything in the game. And the best of the best are able to know right when it's coming out of his hand, am I going to swing and where's it going to come?
Yes.
Because
And
that determines how your plane's going to come through.
and that's exactly, so like before I said you have to not only decide where to swing the bat to connect with the ball, but you have to decide if you're going to swing at all.
Right. And that is
And I
made
don't
in
know
a
how you can
split
make that decision so
second.
fast.
Yeah. And it's crazy. I mean, it's honestly, it just comes down to seeing, I would say, hundreds of thousands of
Sure.
pitches over the years to
Yeah.
know, okay, if that pitch is coming out here, if that pitch is coming out here, like what's the difference in where that's going to be coming
Yep.
across the plate? And yeah, in the blink of an eye, you decide, okay, I'm going to swing at this. Okay, I'm not. And while you're deciding if you're going to or not, then it's pretty much just muscle memory, fine tuning your swing to get under the ball to come up and make good contact and not, roll over a pitch. And then it comes into all the confusing parts with timing and getting your foot down. And are you getting a big load? Are you taking a smaller load and everything like that? So there's so many different fine tuned components to the game that if you don't play, you don't really pick up on those things. And that's why I think a lot of people think that baseball can be considered a dying sport and it's kind of boring, is because like it is a very slow paced game and you have to kind of have patience with it and understand it in order to fully kind of take it for all its glory.
Yeah, that is something I was going to ask you about, because baseball is, it used to be known as America's pastime, but it does seem like baseball interest is going. If it's not going up for sure, I wouldn't say it. It just seems like it's been steadily declining for a while, and
Right.
we're just used to we're watching these sports on TV where we're used to like the glitz and the quick, just grabbing our attention, these glamorous plays, and their baseball, I mean, these guys go up to the plate and they dig their feet in the ground, for seconds, and it is a little slow paced. But you touched on it a little bit. But what do you have to say? to the people who haven't played before and they tell you, I don't like watching baseball, it's boring. Should do this? Should they just do the research and get to know it a little better? I mean, is that
I mean, I would say that's completely a personal question. I mean, it doesn't bother me in the slightest if someone says, "Oh, baseball is such a boring sport" or whatever. Like that's totally a personal decision and an opinion that you have to take for yourself. Everyone has their hobbies and favorite things to do, and I would say if baseball doesn't interest you, then maybe it's not the game for you. But I would also say there's also a lot of people out there that whether they have played the game or not can understand different components of
yeah,
it. And once you, I think, especially if you have played the game and the higher level you've played at, the more respect you have for the players in the game. And that's probably the case for anything in life, not even just sports, just kind of the more you do something at a higher level, the more appreciation and
that's
respect
true.
you have for that. So I would just say if you enjoy it, then take it for all it's worth. But if you don't, then it might not be the thing for you. But I don't necessarily like. I don't get mad when people say, "Oh, baseball's a boring game." Like
Yeah,
it's a fact of the matter that it is a slow game,
yeah,
and you kind of have to. You have to enjoy it. You can't really force yourself to enjoy it. I would
yeah. I feel that. But I love watching like YouTube compilations of a few different things. Like I just looked up the other day, like umps making crazy calls. I just love watching umps get so into their, like it's
say.
whether it's the
Yeah,
first base up or something. It's a close play, and the ump, and it's awesome. I love watching that kind of thing,
yeah,
or trick plays, and yeah, I think at least if you step back and you just watch baseball, you just think, oh, this guy's throwing the ball, hits it, and then they try to throw it at the base. But there's so many plays, like actual plays that are instilled in the game. You have to know as a second baseman what's going to happen if the ball is hit to the outfield, the ball is hit the first base, ball's bunted, whatever's going to happen. You need to know exactly what you're going to do. You need to pay attention to the number of outs, who's batting. Just so many different variables at all times that I don't, like I asked you. I think if people understood it more, they might have more appreciation for it. Just
yeah.
what I'm saying. Um, but again, yeah, if it's not your thing, it's not your thing. But um, I I asked you before, like how what kind of practice does it take to be able to hit a ball that's coming at you 90 miles an hour? But I also saw a video recently. This kid has an 0-2 count, and it was kind of like a meme, like making fun of like people who just swing at the next pitch no matter what. But how do you decide? It's 0-2. You don't want to go down and watch a strike go right down the middle.
Yeah.
But even in that scenario, I mean, how do you make that decision so quick? I mean, you're nervous. You might get struck out. You might, but you also don't want to swing at a wild ball. So how do you keep nerves from getting into your head and affecting your play?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, I know that every athlete is different, but for the most part, like you live for situations where it does feel stressful and it does feel tense. And, you can be the star in that moment. You live for those kind of moments. And so there's also the nerve wracking moments where, yeah, say you've got guys at bases loaded or something, you got 2 outs, and say you have an 0-2 count, like you said. That's one of those things where it's like your mind and everyone in the crowd can be telling you like, oh, if he misses this, like the game could be over if you don't score or something like that, or he's got to know if he's going to swing at this and whatnot. And I think it's just being able to calm down. We even talked about this year a lot about just breathing and like focused breathing, like taking a big deep like one of those kind of
Yep,
breaths and
yep.
just sharp focus, get in there. And in the end, it really just comes down to all the practice that you've put outside of this game experience. What has that put you in? What kind of position are you in to make a play? And then it just comes down to kind of situational awareness. Like I said, when that pitch is coming out of that pitcher's hand, you're already deciding right there, and it can really be difficult when it comes to like the UMAC zone. That's a phrase that we use all the time because a lot of the umpires in our conference would have different zones and stuff. Some of
Sure.
them would call off the plate, some of them would call higher, some of them would call more inside than outside, and you kind of have to know what that umpire zone is. And so if you know what that umpire zone is, then you really just have to be very conservative with what you're swinging at, because you do not want to take a pitch. Going down looking is the worst feeling ever, especially if you knew it was a strike.
Oh
It's
yeah.
one of those things where you're smacking yourself in the forehead going, why did I not swing at that pitch? And coaches are disappointed, teammates are disappointed, the fans are disappointed. It's just everyone's disappointed. So for me, I think it just came down to getting focused, taking a deep breath, and then just making sure that I was widening my zone, making sure that I wasn't going to swing at anything. You don't want to come down, you don't want to swing at something that's at your head or anything like that. You got to just swing at something that anything's close, kind of widen your zone by a couple inches or something like that, but still pride yourself and, have confidence in yourself that you're going to know what a strike is and what a strike is not. And then it really just comes down to reaction. And a lot of people talk about two-strike approach. Do you choke up? Do you do anything like that? I never really choked up or anything. And I mean, any hitter will tell you their opinion. Everyone has a differing opinion. Some guys are big choke up guys. Some guys are not. For me, it was more just a hyper focus of, I'm going to make contact with this ball. This ball is not going to get by me. When you're in an 0-0 count or a 1-0, 2-0, 3-0 count where it's a hitter's count and you're looking for something you can drive, you're really trying to focus on putting a really good swing on that and swinging hard. Because if you just hit like a little dinky ground ball or something on a 2-0 count, like that's not going to feel good. You're going to be really disappointed in yourself. You're looking for something you
That's the
can
flip
drive.
side of the 0-2. Yeah, that makes sense
Yeah.
too. You're right. I don't think
But
about that.
for me, I never choked up. It was more just focusing on, I am going to make contact with this ball. This ball's not going to get by me. And it really was just a making sure that I was trying to keep my barrel through the zone longer.
Hmm.
So kind of getting on, playing with the ball, and making sure that nothing was going to get by me if it was even closer in the zone. And I mean, every hitter's going to mess up and get rung up on a call where they should have swung. They're going to get hosed sometimes where it was, 4 inches off the plate and you're still getting called strike three. But the key is just doing what you can, control the controllables. That was the biggest message that was preached to us this year, which is kind of ironic with how the season ended, because obviously that's uncontrollable with COVID-19 ending things. So I'd say the biggest thing is just controlling what you can control. At the plate, if you're pitching, whatever position you're at, just control what you can control and do your part in the greater team effort.
I like that. Control the controllable. That's good.
Yeah.
So then here's what I have to say about that though. So a lot of times I worry and I get nervous in situations where I know that I can't control what's going to happen, right? So if I get into an 0-2 count, bases loaded, I can control where my swing goes, how I handle the stress, but I can't control what he's going to give to me, right? So how do you deal with knowing that there are some things that you can't control, So how it is really nice to know that control the controllable, and I like that a lot. So then so how do you deal with the things you can't control,
I'd say, I mean, that's kind of one of those things where, you learn so many things in sports that are great lesson teachers for outside world as well. I mean, I can think of a million examples of just things that like you learn, whether it's in baseball, football, gymnastics, track, whatever it might be that you participate in. There's so many lessons you can learn in that sport that stretch into everything in life. And that's one of those things where, like you said, and I think the hardest part for me was trying to be in control. Like, say I'm on deck and the guy in front of me has the bases loaded with 2 outs. I can't control a single thing in the game right there. I just have to have faith and trust that he does his job. And I think that's the same thing in football too. It's like you have 11 guys all trying to do one like grander scheme goal of whether it's on offense or defense. If you're on offense, you're trying to score. If you're on defense, you're trying to prevent them to score, obviously, when it's broken down that simply. So, and then every guy has their own job. And so if every single player, all 11 guys do their job, then you're going to have success. But if I don't have trust that the corner to my left right now isn't going to contain that guy, and all of a sudden I jump outside to try to contain him, and he cuts in and makes a move, and all of a sudden he's going 80 yards for a touchdown. That was my fault that I messed up because I tried doing something where I was going to do somebody else's job because I didn't have trust that they were going to do it. And I think
That's
that's the same
that's
thing
good.
in terms of controlling the controllables. Is you have to have faith and trust that your guy, your teammate, whatever it is, your coworker is going to get the job done. They're going to do what they're supposed to do, and you're going to do what you're supposed to do. Because if you try doing somebody else's job, oftentimes you're going to screw up, and it's going to be worse for everyone. If you just focus on what you're supposed to do, then you're going to have success.
Dude, I like that a lot. That's great. Dude, and it's true though. Sports teach you more about like things that carry over in other areas of your life, just life in general, than anything else. I mean, sports are a great mentor when it comes to life lessons, I think. And that's
Absolutely.
and that's that's the other unfortunate part about losing this aspect of your life. I mean, now that you're going to be graduating and you thought you had this last hurrah, it's just too bad. I keep saying it over and over. It's too
Absolutely.
bad. But so I've told you some stories about back in my day. I want to tell one more. So I told you how I hit a bunch of home runs back in Little League, but we had a district championship to get to state. And by this time I had hit a few home runs and I was getting, I was getting a little confident in my ability to be able to knock it over the fence. And this was right in the middle of a summer wrestling camp that I had. And I took the day off of that wrestling camp to then do this district championship to get to state. We ended up winning. It was really, really close. We ended up winning on a double play to be able to keep them from scoring. So that was cool. But I went 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts that game. That was a big wake up call for me. After hitting so many home runs and then going 0 for 4, it's getting struck out 4 times. That was a big one for me. That was one of those other lessons I had to learn to humble myself a little bit.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you have any really cool stories about a guy on your team or you're not even just college, but at all, if you can think of one. You're playing baseball
Yeah,
or
I mean, I
football or
think
anything like
one of
that.
the coolest moments for me playing baseball in my career at Northwestern wasn't something that I did, but just something that one of my other teammates got to do. And I remember, I think we were playing, was it? I think it was either Bethany Lutheran or Martin Lutheran, a conference game, and we were down kind of the whole game. And then all of a sudden we started to make a little bit of a comeback at the very end of the game, kind of like seventh inning, somewhere in there. And we ended up getting to the point where I think we were down by like 2 or 3 runs. And then all of a sudden we have bases loaded. And I was a freshman on the team this year, and we had a few guys who could really swing it. We had like 3 guys hit 4 or more home runs that year. So some guys that definitely had some power. And I remember the guy's name was Brett Reinhardt, and he was up at the plate, and I was on deck actually, and it was bases loaded, one of those situations like we were just talking about. And I remember, yeah, we were down by 2 or 3 runs. Pitch comes in, he puts this big swing on it to dead center field, the deepest part of the park, and it got out over the wall. And I remember just
Jeez.
the swarm of bodies on home plate and just the joy of everybody just realizing we're down in the game. Everybody's kind of in the dumps a little bit. And then I think the coaches kind of got on us to get fired up, like it's not over and stuff. And so that was just one of those messages where, like I said, it's kind of bigger than baseball. It's just like there's so many times where you can get down and feel like the world's against you or whatever. And then sometimes you just need a little spark to ignite a flame. And so, we changed our attitude that game and ended up coming back and winning in like the coolest way you can do it, a walk-off grand slam to end the game. And I remember, like, even though I wasn't the one that hit that ball, just the joy that I felt for all my teammates that day, it felt so good.
Dude. And that's something else about baseball is maybe in football, for example, everyone plays a part. And when someone does really well, the teammates lift them up. But in baseball, I mean, everyone that's not hitting is watching, encouraging, and yelling for that teammate that's trying to hit the ball right now, that's up to bat. And I just think that's really cool because I remember back when I played too, if there was a kid who was struggling or just maybe wasn't as good, obviously there are times if you strike out, you feel really bad and the whole, everyone is watching you and it sucks. But other times this kid gets a base hit. He has a really nice hit, and all of the teammates, the coaches, they tell him how great of a job he did, and it's just it's it's really cool when people do well, like you said, and it just brings the whole team together in a way that other sports sometimes can't, I think. you know
Right, absolutely. It's one of those games where it's crazy because it is a team sport, but every single thing when you break it down is just 1v1. Like, I mean, and a lot of it, it's one pitcher throwing the ball. Then all of a sudden, it's one guy hitting the ball. Then if he misses, it's one guy catching the ball. It's literally just one thing at a time, and it comes together for a team game, but everything is individualized. And some people love that. Some people hate it. I think it's not for everyone, but I do think it's one of those things where it definitely can cause you to gain some independence, to understand, like, I'm doing my job for the greater purpose to help the team out. And I think that's one of the beautiful things about the game.
we're going to be cutting a little close on time here, so we better wrap it up. Dude, thanks for coming on today. I really appreciate that. Great lessons learned today. I think I'm going to name the episode Control the Controllable. That's really cool.
Yeah,
I
that's
like that a
good.
lot. I'm going to use that in the future when I'm talking about this kind of thing. That's really cool. So, Carter Michaelson, appreciate you, dude. We'll be on YouTube. I'm going to upload this episode on YouTube. It's going to be at the Too Easy Project, episode 8. It's going to be on Instagram as well. I'll put a little snippet on there if you guys want to stay involved. Other way to listen is on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or pretty much anywhere you listen to podcasts. All right, dude. Thanks for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
No problem, dude. See ya.